The massive space station hegemonies. Crown floated in the darkness between. Stars like a metallic moon. Its 50 km diameter housed the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Inside its crystal chambers and metal corridors, 12 different alien species had gathered for an emergency meeting. That would change everything. Speaker Zefkara stood at the center of the great chamber. Her body was made of living crystal that sparkled with inner light. When she moved, musical notes filled the air. She had lived for 3,000 years and seen countless worlds bow before the Galactic Council's power. Today felt different, though. Today they faced something new. The other council members sat in their specialized seats around the circular room. The Vorak delegation floated in tanks of green liquid, their jellyfish bodies pulsing with thought. The Kithmari perched on metal branches, their 6 arms constantly moving as they calculated probabilities. The Zephyrians hovered as clouds of glowing gas, speaking through electronic translators. Each species was ancient, powerful, and completely sure of their place as the galaxy's rulers. The human situation has become unacceptable, Zefkara announced. Her crystal voice rang through the chamber like bells. For too long we have watched these primitive creatures spread through space like a disease. Commander Vorak Prime's tank bubbled as he spoke. The humans appeared in our monitored space only 60 years ago. Their first faster-than-light ships were crude and barely functional. We classified them as a minor curiosity. That was our mistake, hissed General Keffel from his perch. We should have eliminated them then. Now they have established colonies in 17 star systems, systems that belong to us by right of conquest. The holographic display, the chamber's center, showed a map of the local galaxy arm. Blue dots marked human settlements, scattered across what the Council considered their territory. Each dot represented millions of humans living on worlds the Council had claimed for future use. Their expansion must end, Zefkara declared. We have given them too much freedom, too much time. They have forgotten their place in the cosmic order. Admiral Vexstar of the Hegemony Fleet spoke from his seat of black metal. His species looked like walking skeletons covered in dark armor. My scouts report that human ships have been detected near the Kepler mining worlds. They dare to approach our industrial centers. Impossible arrogance, spat Counselor Lysis, her snake-like body coiled around her floating platform. No species has challenged our authority in 800 years. The last ones who tried became extinct within a single solar cycle. The chamber filled with the various sounds of alien agreement. Clicking, humming, bubbling, and electronic tones all expressed the same sentiment. The humans had gone too far. Zefkara raised one crystal arm for silence. The time for warnings is past. Earth and its colonies represent a clear threat to galactic stability. If we allow this insolence to continue, other species might think they can defy us as well. She moved to the central console and activated the long-range communication array. The massive station's transmitters could send messages across half the galaxy in minutes. I will deliver their final ultimatum. Now, the other council members watched as Earth appeared on the main screen. The small blue planet looked harmless. From space, white clouds swirled over green continents and blue oceans. It was hard to believe that such a Peaceful-looking world housed a species, causing so much trouble. Primitive children of Terra, Zefkara. Began. A voice being broadcast across space. Toward Earth, you will listen carefully to these words. They will be your last warning. She paused, letting the weight of the moment settle over the chamber. Every council member knew what came next. The same words had been spoken to dozens of species over the millennia. Some had been wise enough to surrender immediately. Others had fought and died. You have 72 standard hours to withdraw from all contested star systems. Your colonies in the Kepler, Vega, and Centauri sectors will be abandoned. Your ships will return to Earth's solar system and remain there. The crystal being's voice grew harder, more threatening. Furthermore, you will submit to council oversight. Your military will be disbanded. Your faster-than-light technology will be surrendered. You will accept relocation to designated reservation worlds where your species can exist under proper supervision. Commander Vorik Prime bubbled with satisfaction. The same terms we offered the Altarians. They chose wisdom and still live as our servants. The Rigelians were less intelligent, added General Keffel. Their homeworld is now a museum to the price of defiance. Zefkara continued the transmission. If you refuse these generous terms, the consequences will be absolute. Your homeworld will be sterilized by stellar fire. Your species will be eliminated from the cosmic record. Every human life will end within hours of our deadline passing. She gestured to the weapons display, showing the station's massive planet-killer cannon. The weapon had ended the existence of 14 worlds over the past 2,000 years. It had never failed to reduce entire planets to glowing debris. This is not a negotiation, she concluded. This is your notification of reality. The Galactic Council has spoken. You have 72 hours to comply. The transmission ended, leaving the chamber in satisfied silence. The council members began discussing the expected outcome with the casual interest of beings who had performed this routine many times before. How long do you estimate before they surrender? Asked Counselor Lyses. 48 hours, predicted the Zephyrian collective through their translator. Humans appear to have some intelligence, despite their primitive nature. I estimate 36 hours, countered Admiral Vexstar. Once they analyze our fleet positions, they will realize resistance is impossible. Zefkara moved away from the communication console, her crystal body reflecting the chamber's lights. It does not matter whether they choose slavery or extinction. The human problem ends in 3 days. Outside the station, the Council's vast fleet maintained its patrol routes. 300 massive warships moved between the stars like metal predators. Each ship could destroy a city with a single blast. Together, they had conquered half the galaxy. The council members began to disperse, returning to their quarters to wait for humanity's inevitable surrender. They had performed this dance of dominance so many times that the outcome seemed certain. Another upstart species would learn their place in the cosmic hierarchy. None of them noticed the small scanner readings on the edge of their detection grid, tiny energy signatures that appeared for microseconds before vanishing again. The automated systems classified them as sensor errors and deleted the records. In 72 hours, they would learn exactly how wrong their assumptions had been. But for now, the Galactic Council was completely confident in their power and completely unaware that they had just made the greatest mistake in their 3,000-year history. The countdown to humanity's response had begun. 68 hours had passed since the Galactic Council delivered their ultimatum to Earth. Massive space station Hegemony's crown drifted through space as its alien crew waited for humanity's surrender. In the Great Chamber, Council members had gathered again to witness what they expected to be a simple formality. Speaker Zefkara stood at the central console, her crystal body gleaming with satisfaction. Around the circular chamber, the other council members had taken their positions. They spoke quietly among themselves, making casual bets about exactly how the humans would phrase their submission. "I believe they will beg for mercy," said Commander Vorek Prime from his liquid tank. "Primitive species always do when they finally understand our power. Perhaps they will offer tribute," suggested General Keffel. "Some species try to buy their way out of extinction with rare metals or exotic technologies." The Zephyrian collective hummed through their translator. "Irrelevant. They have 4 hours remaining. Their response will come soon." Suddenly, the station's detection systems activated with urgent chiming sounds. Red lights flashed across the tactical displays as something appeared on the edge of their sensors. A single ship had dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly in front of the massive council station. "Report," Speaker Zethkar commanded the Cathmar. Tactical officer's 6 arms moved rapidly over his controls. One vessel, human design, length approximately 200 m, mass consistent with a small warship. No escort vessels detected. Admiral Vexstar's skeleton-like face showed what might have been amusement. They sent one ship against the most powerful station in the galaxy. The human vessel appeared on the main viewing screen. It was sleek and white, smaller than any of the Council's fighters. Compared to the 50 km diameter of Hegemony's crown, it looked like a tiny insect challenging a giant. Receiving transmission from the human vessel, reported the communications officer. "Put it through." Speaker Zethkar ordered. "Let us hear their surrender." The screen changed to show the interior of the human ship's bridge. A woman in a dark blue military uniform stood at the center of the image. Her hair was gray, her face marked by years of experience. Behind her, through large windows, the blue and green sphere of Earth was clearly visible. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force," the woman said. Her voice was calm and steady. "I represent the 7 billion human beings living on Earth and our colonies throughout this region of space." She paused and looked directly at the camera. Her dark eyes showed no fear, no doubt, no recognition of the overwhelming power aimed at her home world. "Honorable Council members," Admiral Chen continued, "we've received your message regarding the future of human space. We have considered your terms very carefully. We have analyzed your demands, discussed your ultimatum, and reached a unanimous decision among all human governments." Counselor Vizier leaned forward on her floating platform. "Finally, some sense from these primitives." Admiral Chen's expression did not Change, our response to your ultimatum. Is this, no, the single word hung in the space between species like a physical object. For several long seconds, the council chamber remained completely silent. None of the alien leaders seemed to understand what they had just heard. Did she say no? Whispered Commander Vorak Prime. That is impossible, stated the Zephyrin Collective. No species refuses our ultimatums. On the screen, Admiral Chen continued speaking as if she had just commented on the weather, instead of rejecting the demands of the galaxy's most powerful civilization. Furthermore, we formally reject your claimed authority over human space, human colonies, and human affairs. Earth stands sovereign under its own government. Our settlements answer to their own elected leaders. Our ships travel where they choose under human command. She took a step closer to the camera. Any attempt to interfere with human freedom will be met with appropriate defensive measures. Speaker Zethkar's crystal form flared with bright light as her emotional state changed. You dare threaten the Galactic Council, a species that registers as barely above primitive on our development scale. Admiral Chen's expression grew slightly cooler. We are not threatening anyone. Speaker Zethkar, we are simply informing you of our position. Humans do not make threats. We make promises. The words sent a strange chill through the chamber. There was something in the human woman's voice that did not match her species' supposed primitive nature. She spoke with the confidence of someone who held powerful cards. Your arrogance is astounding, Speaker. Zethkar replied. You float there in your tiny ship while the most powerful weapon in the galaxy aims at your home world. Do you not understand your situation? I understand it perfectly, Chen answered. The question is whether you understand yours. Admiral Vexstar's armor clanked as he leaned forward. Explain your meaning, human. Chen glanced at something off camera. Possibly a tactical display. In approximately 18 minutes, your primary weapon will be fully charged and ready to fire. You will attempt to destroy Earth as you have destroyed other worlds that refuse to submit to your rule. A calm recitation of the timeline was somehow more disturbing than any dramatic speech would have been. That attempt will fail, she continued. After it fails, you will have exactly one opportunity to reconsider your position. I strongly recommend you use that opportunity wisely. General Kethel's 6 arms clicked in agitation. Impossible. Our planet killer has never failed. No defensive technology can stop stellar-level energy output. You are correct that no previously known defensive technology can stop your weapon. Admiral Chen agreed. However, you're operating under several false assumptions about human capabilities. She moved to stand next to one of the windows showing Earth. The planet looked as peaceful as ever, completely undefended against the massive weapon targeting it for 97 years, Chen said. Humanity has known about your existence. We detected your observation probes in our solar system shortly after we achieved faster-than-light travel. We have been monitoring your activities, studying your technology, and preparing for this exact conversation. The Council members exchanged glances of concern. Their observation networks were supposed to be undetectable by primitive species. You believe you understand human capabilities because you have observed some of our ships and colonies, Chen continued. You have made your plans. based on incomplete information. That was your first mistake, Speaker. Zethkar's crystal form darkened. What are you implying? I am stating clearly that humanity is not the primitive species you believe us to be. We are something much older and much more dangerous than you have prepared for. Chen stepped back to the center of the screen. Behind her, Earth continued its slow rotation, apparently unaware that in minutes it might cease to exist. Your weapon will fire in 17 minutes, she said, checking a chronometer on her wrist. When it does, you will learn exactly who and what you have chosen to threaten. I hope you are prepared for that. Education. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. For the first time in 3,000 years, Speaker Zethkar felt something she had almost forgotten existed: uncertainty. The human woman had spoken with too much confidence, too much certainty about outcomes that should be impossible. Begin final charging sequence for the primary weapon, she ordered. Charging sequence initiated. Confirm the weapons. Officer. 15 minutes to full power as the massive station prepared to demonstrate the price of defying the Galactic Council. None of its crew noticed the almost invisible energy signatures beginning to appear throughout their sensor network. Tiny blips that registered for microseconds before vanishing again. If anyone had been watching carefully, they might have realized that something was coming, something big. The great chamber of Hegemony's crown pulsed with angry energy as the council members processed what they had just witnessed. No species had ever spoken to them with such casual defiance. The human admiral's confidence was either incredible courage or incredible stupidity. In 15 minutes they would know which. Speaker Zethkar moved to the weapons control station. Her crystal hands activated the primary firing sequence with sharp, angry motions. Around the chamber, holographic displays showed the massive cannon emerging from the station's hull like the stinger of a cosmic wasp. Final countdown initiated, announced the weapons officer. 14 minutes to full charge. Admiral Vexstar stood from his metal throne, his skeletal frame radiating satisfaction. At last, we remind the galaxy why no one challenges the council. Let every species witness what happens to those who forget their place. The humans have potential, mused Commander Vorak Prime from his liquid tank. Their technology showed promise. Too bad their leaders lacked wisdom. General Kethel's 6 arms clicked rapidly as he calculated targeting solutions. A clean shot. No asteroid fields, no stellar interference. Earth will be completely destroyed. Not even atoms will remain. On the main screen, the human ship UES Defiance maintained its position directly between the Council Station and Earth. Admiral Chun had not moved her vessel away from the firing line. She simply waited, as calm as if she was having tea instead of facing planetary annihilation. Why did she not retreat? Asked Counselor Vices, her snake-like body coiled nervously around her platform. Even primitive species have survival instincts. Perhaps she believes her ship can somehow stop our weapon, suggested the Zephyrian Collective. Some species develop irrational confidence in their technology. Zethkar's crystal form pulsed with dark light. Nothing can stop the primary cannon. We channel the power of an entire star through quantum focusing arrays. The energy output exceeds the total power generation of most civilizations. She gestured to the tactical display, showing energy levels rising steadily toward maximum. The weapon had been tested on 14 worlds over the past 2,000 years. Planets, moons, space stations, entire asteroid fields, all had been reduced to expanding clouds of superheated plasma in seconds. 12 minutes remaining, reported the weapons officer. In the observation galleries around the chamber, representatives of the council's client species watched through reinforced viewing ports. These were the survivors, the civilization that had chosen submission over extinction when faced with the same choice now given to humanity. They would witness another demonstration of why their surrender had been wise. The Altarian ambassador, a blue-skinned humanoid whose world had been conquered 200 years ago, spoke quietly to his aide. The humans fought well, but courage alone cannot stop stellar fire. Near him, the Rigelian observer remained silent. His species had also defied the council. Once, their homeworld was now a glowing memorial to the price of resistance. On the bridge of the UES Defiance, Admiral Chun stood calmly at her command station. Her crew moved with practiced efficiency around her, showing no signs of panic, despite the massive weapon charging in front of them. If anything, they seemed almost relaxed. 10 minutes to firing, the weapons officer announced. General Kethal leaned forward in his perch. Admiral Chun, can you hear me? The human woman appeared on screen. Again. I can hear you, General. This is your final chance to surrender. Order your ship away from the firing line. Broadcast humanity's submission to the galaxy. Perhaps the Council will show mercy to your species. Chun checked her chronometer again. 9 minutes, 43 seconds until you fire. I understand your position perfectly. General, do you understand mine? You are about to die. Kethal stated flatly. Your homeworld is about to cease existing. How can you remain so calm? Because I know something you do not. Chun replied. In less than 10 minutes you are going to learn that humanity is not what you think we are. After that lesson, you will have one chance to reconsider your approach to human affairs. Commander Vorik Prime bubbled with frustration. What could you possibly know that we do not? We have monitored your species for decades. We understand your capabilities. You understand what we have allowed you to see. Chun corrected. There is a difference. Zefkara moved closer to the communication station. Human Admiral, you speak in riddles. Because you have nothing else. Your species achieved faster than light travel only 60 years ago. Your most advanced weapons are primitive fusion devices. You have no defense against stellar-level energy. You are correct. About our public technology, Chun agreed. However, you are making assumptions about our private capabilities. She gestured toward something off screen. Humanity has faced extinction many times in our history. Ice ages, asteroid impacts, volcanic supereruptions, nuclear war, artificial intelligence rebellion, solar radiation events. We survived all of them. Do you know how? Luck, said Admiral Vexstar dismissively. Preparation, Chun corrected. We learned very early that the universe is a dangerous place. We learned to hide to plan, to prepare for threats we hoped would never come. 5 minutes to firing, announced the weapons officer. The energy readings on the tactical displays had reached 90% of maximum. Throughout the massive station, power systems hummed with barely contained stellar fire. The primary cannon's focusing arrays glowed white-hot as they prepared to channel unimaginable destruction toward Earth. Last warning, human, Zefkara declared. Surrender now or face extinction. Admiral Chun smiled for the first time in the conversation. It was not a pleasant expression. Speaker Zefkara, let me ask you a question. In all your monitoring of human space, did you ever wonder why Earth is the only planet in this galaxy where every single apex predator evolved from the same basic genetic template? The question was so unexpected that several council members looked confused. Answer me, Chun continued. Lions, tigers, bears, sharks, eagles, wolves, humans. All predators, all evolved on the same small planet. Does that seem normal to you? General Kethal's tactical calculations paused as he considered the question. Evolutionary concentration is unusual, but not impossible. It is impossible, Chun stated, unless the planet was specifically designed to produce predator species, unless something was shaping evolution toward a particular outcome. 3 minutes to firing. The energy levels reached 95%. The primary cannon's barrel began to glow as stellar fire built up inside the quantum focusing chambers. You are suggesting that Earth was artificially modified? Asked the Zephorian collective. I am stating that Earth was a testing ground, Chun replied. For 10 million years, various technologies were used to push evolution toward creating the most efficient predator species possible. The process continued until the optimal result was achieved. She looked directly at the camera. That optimal result was humanity. Impossible, Zefkara whispered. 2 minutes to firing. Admiral Chun stepped back to the window, showing Earth. The planet you are about to attack is not the homeworld of a primitive species. It is the final product of a 10-million-year weapons development project, and you are about to discover what happens when you threaten the most dangerous predator in galactic history. 1 minute to firing. The energy levels reached maximum. The primary cannon extended fully from the station's hull, its barrel now glowing like a star. Around the chamber, alien faces showed mixtures of anticipation and growing unease. 30 seconds. Chun raised her hand and spoke one final time. Fire when ready. It is time for your education to begin. Firing sequence complete, announced the weapons officer. Zefkara's crystal form blazed with triumph. Fire, the primary cannon discharged with the power of a dying star. A beam of pure energy lanced across space toward Earth, carrying enough destructive force to vaporize continents. In seconds, the shot was perfect, the targeting flawless, the power output exactly as designed for. Exactly 4.7 seconds. The beam traveled toward its target at the speed of light. Then something impossible happened. Beam stopped, not deflected, not absorbed, not redirected. It simply terminated 10,000 km from Earth's surface as if it had struck an invisible barrier. The stellar fire that should have ended. Human civilization dispersed harmlessly. Into space. In the council chamber. Every alien face showed the same expression of shocked disbelief. That, said Admiral Chun calmly, was Lesson 1. The silence in the council chamber stretched like a physical thing. 12 different species, each with their own ways of expressing shock, all shared the same stunned paralysis. The impossible had just happened before their eyes. Their ultimate weapon, their guarantee of galactic dominance, had been stopped by something they could not understand. Speaker Zefkara stared at the tactical display showing 0 damage to Earth. The planet continued its peaceful rotation as if stellar fire had not just been turned against it. White clouds still swirled over blue oceans. Green continents showed no signs of the devastation that should have consumed them. Weapon status, she whispered. The weapons officer's voice shook as he read his instruments. Primary cannon functioned perfectly. Full stellar energy discharge confirmed. The beam traveled 4.7 seconds before stopping. Stopping how? Demanded Admiral Vexstar. Energy cannot simply cease to exist. Unknown, sir. The beam terminated at exactly 10,000 km from the target planet. Residual energy dissipated into background radiation. On the main screen, Admiral Chun stood calmly on her ship's bridge. Behind her, Earth looked exactly as it had before the attack. No scorch marks, no atmospheric disruption, no indication that the most powerful weapon in the galaxy had just been fired at it. Lesson 1, Chun said, her voice cutting through the shocked silence. Earth has been protected by defensive technology you do not understand for longer than your council has existed. General Kethal's 6 arms clicked frantically over his tactical controls. Run full spectrum analysis. Find the defensive system. There must be hidden installations. Orbital platforms, something. Scanning, reported the sensor operator. No artificial constructs detected around Earth, no energy emissions consistent with defensive arrays. No explanation for the weapon failure. Commander Vorik Prime's tank bubbled violently as his species equivalent of panic set in. This is impossible. Matter and energy follow universal laws. No technology can simply make stellar fire disappear. You are correct that this should be impossible based on your understanding of technology, Chun replied. Which brings us to lesson 2. Something in her tone made every alien in the chamber feel a chill that had nothing to do with temperature. Lesson 2 is that humanity does not make idle threats before anyone could ask what she meant. Every alarm system on hegemony's crown began screaming at once. Red warning lights bathed the chamber. Crimson as proximity alerts, energy spike detectors, and tactical computers all registered the same impossible readings. Report, Zefkara shouted over the chaos. The Keth Mori sensor officer's 6 arms moved like lightning over his controls, energy signatures appearing throughout the system. Multiple contacts, massive power readings. The main display changed to show the tactical overview of local space. Dots of light were appearing around the council station, around their fleet positions, around everything they considered secure. The dots multiplied rapidly, covering the screen like a spreading disease. How many ships? Admiral Vexstar demanded, still Counting, the sensor officer replied. His voice cracked with strain. Current total, 400 contacts. 500. 700. The numbers kept climbing as more human vessels became visible throughout the system. 1,000 contacts confirmed, the officer announced. Still detecting more. Counselor Thighs coiled tighter around her platform. Where did they come from? Our deep space sensors showed nothing. They were already here, Chun explained. From the screen. They've been here since before this conversation began. They've been watching you prepare to attack Earth. They've been waiting for my signal. General Kethal's tactical displays showed human ships surrounding every Council asset in the system. This is impossible. We would have detected a fleet of this size. You detected what we wanted you to detect, Chun replied. Admiral, tell me something. In all your years of studying human space, did you ever wonder why our most advanced ships look so primitive compared to your technology? The question hung in the air as more human vessels continued appearing on sensors. 1,500 contacts now confirmed, reported the sensor officer. The answer, Chun continued, is that we showed you our obsolete vessels. The ships you have been monitoring are our equivalents of training craft, museum pieces we used to teach no pilots. She gestured towards something off screen. The ships surrounding you now are from our actual fleet. On the tactical displays, the Council officers could see that these human vessels looked nothing like the crude ships they had been observing. These were sleek, advanced craft that seemed to bend light around their hulls. They moved with impossible precision and showed energy readings that made the Council's most advanced ships look primitive. 2,000 contacts, the sensor officer announced. His voice was barely a whisper. Admiral Vexstar stared at his displays in growing horror. How long have you been watching us? 97 years, Chun replied without hesitation. Since we first detected your observation probes in our solar system. We knew this conversation would happen. Eventually, we've been preparing for it since before most of your current leaders were born. The tactical situation was becoming clear to every council member. Human ships had surrounded not just Hegemony's crown but every council vessel in the system. They had achieved perfect tactical positions without being detected until they chose to reveal themselves. What do you want? Zivkora asked. For the first time in 3,000 years, her crystal voice carried no authority, only fear. We want to be left alone. Chun replied simply. We want our colonies to grow in peace. We want to explore the galaxy without asking permission from self-appointed overlords. Commander Vorik Prime's tank sloshed as he moved in agitation. And if we refuse? Chun's expression became colder. Admiral, let me explain something about human nature. We are not a young species that stumbled into space travel. We are an old species that learned to hide very well. She walked closer to the camera. Earth has survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, supervolcano eruptions, our own nuclear weapons, artificial intelligence rebellions, and solar radiation events that should have sterilized our world 3 times over. The human admiral paused to let this information sink in. We survived all of these extinction events not because we were lucky. but because we learned to be the most dangerous thing in any environment we encountered. We learned to adapt, to plan ahead, to prepare for threats we hoped would never come. 3,000 contacts confirmed, whispered the sensor officer. Chun nodded as if she'd expected this number. For nearly a century, we've been studying you. We know your fleet positions, your weapon capabilities, your industrial capacity, your supply lines, your communication networks, and the exact loyalty levels of your member species. She gestured to her tactical display. We know that the Altarians have been planning rebellion for 60 years. We know that the Rigelian survivors have been secretly building ships in the outer asteroid belts. We know that 3 of your client species have already negotiated surrender terms with our diplomatic corps. The council chamber erupted in shocked voices as this intelligence was revealed. Impossible. Councilor Thizes hissed. Our security networks are impenetrable. Your security networks have been compromised since the day you installed them. Chun replied. We wrote the code patches you downloaded last year. We built the quantum encryption systems you purchased from the Kethmori. We designed the sensor arrays that failed to detect our ships. Admiral Vexstar's skeletal frame seemed to shrink. How deeply have you infiltrated our systems? Admiral, the correct question is whether there is anything in your civilization that we have not infiltrated. The tactical display updated again, now showing over 4,000 human vessels distributed throughout Council space. The Galactic Council, as an institution that threatens human sovereignty, effectively ceased to exist the moment you fired on Earth. Chun announced. Your fleets, your stations, your worlds continue to exist only because we choose to let them. Zefkara's crystal form had lost all its inner light. What are your terms? You have 2 choices, Chun replied. Choice 1. You acknowledge human sovereignty over human space. You withdraw your forces to your original territories. You never threaten human worlds again. You never attempt to impose your authority on us again. She paused. In exchange, we will pretend this conversation never happened. You can continue ruling your remaining territories as you see fit. And choice 2. General Cathal asked, though he seemed afraid to hear the answer. Chun's smile returned, cold and predatory. Choice 2. You refuse our terms and learn exactly why. Earth is the only planet in this galaxy where every apex predator evolved to hunt, kill, and survive. The human ships on the tactical display began to move in perfect coordination, demonstrating a level of fleet control that the Council had never achieved. You have 24 hours to evacuate this system and broadcast your decision, Chun announced. Choose wisely. Humanity is feeling generous today, but our patience has limits. The transmission ended, leaving the Council chamber in absolute silence. Outside the viewports, human ships could now be seen with the naked eye, surrounding the massive station like hunters surrounding prey. 23 hours and 17 minutes after Admiral Chun delivered humanity's ultimatum, the Galactic Council's emergency session reconvened aboard the Xylo's Crown. The great chamber that had once echoed with confident declarations of power now felt like a tomb. The 12 alien species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia sat in stunned silence, surrounded by the invisible presence of human ships that could destroy them at any moment. Speaker Zefkara stood at the central console, her crystal form dim and lifeless. Around the chamber, the other council members showed their own species expressions of defeat. Commander Vorak Prime floated motionless in his tank. General Cathal's 6 arms hung limp from his perch. The Zephyrian collective barely glowed through their electronic translators. The time has come, Zefkara announced. To the chamber. We must vote on humanity's terms. Admiral Vextar's skeletal frame creaked as he shifted in his throne. How did we miss this? How did they hide their true capabilities for so long? We saw what we expected to see, replied Counselor Dices, her snake-like body coiled tightly with tension. A primitive species with crude technology. We never considered that they might be deliberately appearing weak. General Cathal accessed his tactical displays one more time. The readings had not changed. Over 4,000 human vessels remained positioned throughout Council space, each one showing energy signatures more advanced than anything in the Council's arsenal. Our intelligence networks have been analyzing their capabilities all night, he reported. The assessment is disturbing. He activated the holographic display, showing fleet comparisons. Their smallest ships carry weapons equivalent to our heavy cruisers. Their largest vessels show energy outputs that exceed our battle stations. If this analysis is correct, any single human ship could destroy our entire fleet. Commander Vorak Prime bubbled weakly from his tank. But how? 60 years ago, they barely achieved faster than light travel. They have been planning this for nearly a century, Zefkara replied, while we watched their primitive ships and laughed at their crude colonies. They were building hidden fleets and developing technologies we cannot comprehend. The chamber fell silent again as the full scope of their miscalculation became clear. They had threatened the species that was not only capable of destroying them, but had been prepared for this exact confrontation for longer than most council members had been alive. There is another matter, General Cathal said quietly. Our client species have been responsive to the situation. He activated communications from across Council space. Messages had been pouring in throughout the night from the civilizations that served the Council. The tone of these messages had changed dramatically since humanity's demonstration of power. The Altharians formally request permission to open diplomatic relations with Earth. Cathal read from his display. The Rigelian survivors have declared their territories independent. The Centaur Alliance is asking for human protection against future Council aggression. Counselor Dices hissed in frustration. In one day, they have undermined 3,000 years of careful dominance. They offered our client species something we never did, Zefkara observed. Hope, the possibility of freedom from our rule. Admiral Vextar stood from his throne with the slow movements of someone carrying a great burden. We have 43 minutes remaining before their deadline. We must decide. The vote was conducted in the traditional manner, with each species casting their decision through their representative. One by one, the ancient rulers of the galaxy chose survival over pride. The Kef Mari vote to accept human terms. General Cathal announced. The Vorak Collective agrees to the human conditions, bubbled. Commander Vorak Prime. The Zephyrian Unity accepts the proposed arrangement. Confirmed the glowing gas cloud. Species after species voted the same way. When the final tally was complete, the decision was unanimous. The Galactic Council would accept humanity's terms rather than face extinction. Zefkara activated the long-range communication array one final time. A message would be broadcast to every inhabited system in the galaxy, marking the end of an era. To all civilizations within the galactic community, she began, her crystal voice carrying across space. With official authority, the Galactic Council hereby acknowledges the sovereignty of human space and the independence of all human colonies. She paused, the words like poison in her crystalline throat. Furthermore, the Council formally recognizes Earth's right to self-governance and commits to non-interference in human affairs. Any conflicts between human and Council territories will be resolved through diplomatic channels rather than military action. The broadcast continued for several more minutes, outlining the new boundaries and establishing protocols for peaceful coexistence. When it ended, the galaxy had fundamentally changed. Within hours, responses began arriving from across human space. The message was simple and identical. From every human colony, every Earth government, and every human ship in known space. Message received. Terms acknowledged. Thank you for your cooperation. The response was signed by Admiral Chun on behalf of something called the Terran Defense Coalition. According to the attached documents, this organization had been operating for 93 years, had over 800,000 active ships, and maintained military installations in 47 star systems that the Council had never detected. They played a century-long game, Zefkara said as she read the intelligence reports. While we thought we were watching them develop, they were watching us prepare to threaten them. In the days that followed, more details emerged about humanity's true capabilities. Their primitive colonies were revealed to be heavily fortified worlds, protected by weapon systems that made Council technology look obsolete. Their crude ships were shown to be training vessels for a space force that dwarfed the combined fleets of every other known civilization. Most disturbing of all, analysis of human communications revealed that their military leaders had been disappointed by the Council's performance. They had expected a more challenging opponent and were genuinely surprised by how easily their hidden fleets had achieved tactical supremacy. The psychological impact was devastating to species that had considered themselves the apex of galactic civilization. They had not lost to superior numbers or advanced technology alone. They had lost to superior planning, superior intelligence, and a level of strategic thinking that operated on time scales they had never considered. Within a month, the balance of galactic power had shifted completely. Human diplomatic missions began arriving at former Council worlds, offering trade agreements, defense pacts, and technological exchanges. Many species that had served the Council for centuries eagerly switched their allegiance to the new power that promised partnership instead of Domination. The Galactic Council still existed, but its authority was limited to its core territories. The vast empire and its spent millennia building began fragmenting as species after species declared independence or sought human protection. Hegemonies. Crown. Once the symbol of ultimate power in the galaxy, was quietly relocated to a remote system, where it could serve as the Council's new capital. The massive station that had intimidated countless civilizations now hid in the darkness between stars, its weapons powered down and its sensors scanning constantly for any sign of human ships. In the end, the Council's greatest mistake had not been threatening humanity. It had been fundamentally misunderstanding what humanity was. They had seen a young species and assumed weakness. They had seen primitive technology and assumed ignorance. They had seen scattered colonies and assumed vulnerability. They had never considered that they might be looking at a civilization that had spent 10 million years learning to survive in a universe that kept trying to kill it. They had never imagined that such a species might view their threat not as an insurmountable challenge, but as simply another extinction event to be prepared for and overcome. Admiral Sarah Chan had tried to warn them. She had told them they were operating under false assumptions. She had explained that humans did not make idle threats. The Galactic Council had chosen not to listen now, as they governed their reduced territories and watched human ships patrol the space lanes they had once considered their own. They finally understood what she had meant. Humanity had not conquered them through violence or destruction. They had conquered them through the simple demonstration that they had been ready for this war before the Council had even known it was coming. The galaxy had learned a hard truth that many civilizations discovered too late. Sometimes the species that looks weakest is the one that has had the most practice surviving, and sometimes the greatest predator is the one that has learned to hunt so well that its prey never sees it coming. In human space, Admiral Chan continued her duties as if nothing particularly significant had happened. When asked by reporters about humanity's sudden emergence as the galaxy's dominant power, she simply smiled and said, "We have always been exactly what we are. The galaxy just needed time to notice." Earth continued its peaceful rotation around Sol, protected by defenses that no one fully understood and watched over by fleets that had learned to move through space like ghosts. And in the depths of the void, human ships maintained their eternal vigil.